all, and thanks for this great opportunity. And as my favorite verse always starts with Tirukkural, I wanted to start with one of the verse which always touches my heart, and it always keeps me ringing my brain every time. So there is one saying called "Tottanai Thoorum Manarkeni, Mandarukku Kattanai Thoorum Arivu." So that means the more you dig in the sand spring, the more is the water flow. Similarly, the more you learn, the more is the wisdom. So, as a part of the continuous learning, there is no end point for keeping ourselves updated and learning throughout this. With the next stage of that, I'm very happy to share my understanding and learning and wanted to go ahead with my DDS 2.0 presentation. So, when I just started this DDS 2.0 presentation, the first thing that came to my mind is I totally almost did 27 clients of scannings, 270 fingers, 270 composite energies, 270 into 10, actually 270 types of fingerprints, 270 types of energies being given as a value to me. So how to pick out of it the best combination so that I can give a better explanation to all the crowd. So in that context, what I just thought is, let us pick a personality which has a dominant pattern in the fingerprints. So we know that we have a 5 unique patterns, like we coin it as A for emulative, water, fire, air, earth, and the space. So I wanted to pick those personalities among my composite data who are all exhibiting that. So wonderfully, the first 2 examples I got is 9 A's for Ms. Swarnalakshmi and 10 all are C for Mr. Periyasamy. And there is one person who is just a 3 years old person who is having 3Ds, and that is the maximum I got in my data set. Then Mr. Kumar is having X, and I wanted to go with one X profile where I took Ms. Purnavalli for this. So this is what we are going to see through the next 45 minutes. What are they? Why they took genetic brain profiling? What we did to them? What was the answers that we could able to address to their problem statement? So this is how my overall presentation is constructed. So let us go to the first profile, Ms. Swarnalakshmi. So Swarnalakshmi is a 42-year-old single parent, and she is working in a government sector. There is two dynamics that she came to me. The first is when reference to her work profile, she is very confident. She is able to flow through easily, and she could able to balance things. But when it comes to her family, handling her children or handling in-laws or handling her family members, she is having that frustration, and there is no enough tolerance to handle it. And easily she gets irritated when it comes to the family context. So why that variation is what the curious question she came to me, and with that we went for the GBP report. The critical indicators for Swarnalakshmi, that if you could see that she is almost both balanced brain, but marginally shifting towards a right brain person. In that you can see a right prefrontal is dominant lobe. So she is having 69 as energy flowing through a right prefrontal, which is a dominant lobe. And this lobe is constituted with a D. So this indicates that she is going to be a very good communicator and naturally a good judge in terms of the relationship. Then we just went to study about a right brain processing speed. That was showing that she was having the neocortex and limbic speed is very fast. That fast processing makes her makes her to take a quick decision between the relationships. So that was one indicator that showing that this can also be a trigger or an event that is causing her that irritability. So then we also went through comparing that with the multiple intelligence report. She was having a very strong picture intelligence. So this picture intelligence predominantly coming from the right prefrontal and the right occipital. So our right prefrontal is very strong. So naturally our picture intelligence is very good. But there was not enough contribution from the left prefrontal to dominate the right prefrontal. So what happens to her all thoughts becomes as a daydream. So she will think as a big visionary. She wanted to do many things. She will dream a lot. Next day, she will not keep that things pushing her to do that momentum. So she will forget, and everything is going in terms of a daydreaming in our life. So that was one indicator that we picked from the first context. And the next, when we saw being a right brainer and with a very good people smart intelligence, we can understand that she can make friends easily. And that is why she, when in her office environment, even though they are strangers, she can able to understand the people's emotions. She can able to easily mingle with other people, so she can interactively work and make their office environment very happy. So that was something that we could able to cull out from the initial context of it. Then we wanted to go a little deeper into our behavioral profiles. So when I take the disk chart into our behavioral profile, it was literally D and I were the strongest. You can see the I being the strongest because I basically gets contributed from a right prefrontal. And this I with the right prefrontal with D in a fingerprint amplifies the picture intelligence a lot. So that is why most of our thoughts are coming from this I as a daydreams. And the next important, interesting factor that leads to that we already discussed that she is having a fast brain processor. So that will lead to a quick decisions. And mostly these fast brain processes have tendency to skip the process, and because they understand what the end point that they wanted to reach, so they will travel fast to the end point, ignoring the processes or negligibly not giving that proper due respect to the process. So for taking that fast, quick decisions, and that that with fueling DNI wanted to be very goal centric for us. So being a government employee sitting in an Indian railways with this much of energy pushing her to work a lot is not there. In our office environment, there is the first conflict is happening because mostly mostly these office in these government offices, we know they go very slow, but this kind of a person does not enjoy that slowness. They are very goal centric and they wanted to quickly grow in the ladder. So there is the first dynamic that is changing between between our brain composite nature and the work nature that she is interacting with on a day to day life. Second is these people are self-made leaders. So it is evidently seen as a single parent when she lost her husband, when her two kids were, one kid was at least 3 years and another kid was 6 years. She could single-handedly manage and she could grow up in her life and she could take up a job from a government industry and made both the sons to study well, and they are doing very well. So that evidently proves that the amount of fight that she can able to bring it, that adaptability is basically coming from this 9 years where she is pushing herself hard, and that DNI is helping her to make herself self-motivated and self-boosted every time to just rebounds from her every loss that she is facing. So that is the next thing. You can see that on the behavioral traits, mostly imbalanced and skewed towards enthusiasm, and she's having a credit card mindset. That's it. That So one instance I can say that if her kid is asking her anything to any particular thing that they are wishing to do it, she don't want to give that space that the kid is not having father and they should not feel that vacuum. So she instantly try hard to say, and she's finding it very difficult to say no, and she immediately accepts and wanted to go forward it. So generally the people with more A have difficulty in saying no. That is evidently seen in my case also because I'm 100% A. So when anything is pushed to us, we will try to adapt ourselves and we push ourselves rather than we will try to say no and push things. So that is one critical thing where the important that is one critical thing that she is facing a difficulty in that enthusiasm attitude in the behavioral traits. So that enthusiasm mindset forcing us to make sudden expenses impulsively, and with her entire behavior traits that we overall see, she is more like an instruction giver and has resistance in terms of taking up any instruction. So she can pass on instruction, but when an instruction is passed to her, she has that few resistance in that. But that resistance is still becoming an adaptiveness where she pushes herself to do that because of her hardness in saying a no. So that is the second conflict happening in her brain and her body. So she wanted to say no, but hardly she could not able to resist it, and the conflict is happening in her brain. So again, there is a problem happening over there. So overall, when we try to consolidate all the indicators and the study from a behavioral traits, we could find how our brain behaving nature. So being a 90% effective, 10% cognitive with 94% emulative, it is very clearly seen this 94% emulative in the cognitive nature makes her emotionally impulse. And this dual engine with the impulsive nature forces her to take an emotional decisions quicker. Being a fast brain processes, emotionally impulse, and takes decisions emotionally are the three important things that is contradicting in our life in terms of creating a problem for ourselves. And the second important identification from the report is being too much of ace, she will try to accept things and she will lose her nature. So she, the uniqueness, the interest, the natural quality of one person are getting lost because of this forcing a culture, forcing ace into her. So naturally, she is not an aggressive person. Due to this kind of a family situation, rising as a single parent with the environmental conditions, with the tougher children, she herself forcing her to behave like an aggressive person. But naturally, she is generally not an aggressive person. In fact, she, from her report, we can see she wants to go and spend a lot of time, travel, and she is kind of a very good enthusiastic person. But unfortunately, the situation and environment has forced her to become like an aggressive person within the family, and that has become as a behavioral traits. But that is not the actual tendency of her. So, what is the remedy? Finally, we propose to her. The one thing that we informed her, she should start accepting the life as is. So, the most important thing is, since she is very strong in their emotional, impulsive nature, she should first detach her from the emotional being and start learning to build patience. So, whenever she is trying to make any decisions, we wanted her to put a pause and take her some time, spend some time for the inner space, and then come up with the decision. So, naturally, this kind of a process will help her in keeping herself detaching from all the emotional thoughts and then coming back to the prefrontal to activate once again to take that proper decisions. So that is the overall composite study of Ms. Sarnalakshmi. So with this speed is okay. Shall I move on to the next profile?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
please go.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next interesting character is Mr. Periasamy. He is actually a financier, and also he is practicing astrology, and also he is practicing uh, some kind of marriage counseling services, and he is also having the event management services. He is not a single person. He is dynamically handling several business, and this person is 100% cognitive. So a very interesting character that I noticed is he came to me stating that he could not sleep properly. He's always having an urge to do something. He's always feeling the crave of achieving something great. So she wanted to find that whether that sleeplessness is because of the finance that he is organizing and lending it to all the borrowers, where the collection tension is making so much worried for him. So should I prefer to drop finance and go for astrology? Was the initial question. By the time he questioned, the question has come to us, the problem statement has come to us, we scanned it, and when we tried to prepare a counseling session, I could see a complete reverse of it, where he said that cognitive has pushed him to say, I cannot leave finance because I cannot lose the lifestyle what I'm living because of the earnings that I'm getting from finance. So ultimately, this profile is whatever we give them an advice, they have a strong belief system for themselves with the C, 100% C across all, and convincing them will be a very challenging task unless and other than they understand their benefits of that brain energy, which is going to be a boon or pain. then only they can preferentially to take a proper decisions. So let's call out why they are behaving like this. So the first component in the GBP indicator, I'll go with the dominant low. I could see the left temporal, which is coming with an 89 energy with the highest dominant, and that is contributed with C3, which is cognitive. So that indicatively make them very articulative and mostly very particular with the numbers and the arrangements of numericals and grammars. So this kind of a left prefrontal with reference to the left temporal. So you can see the left prefrontal is 82 and left uh, uh, temporal is 89. Both are very strong. So indicatively, these people have a very good word intelligence. So they can communicate even the most complex topics, and they are very good communicators. But one thing that we could see that this communication should be supplemented with logics when it's seen from this particular personality where although the left prefrontal is good with reference to the logical intelligence, we can see that logical intelligence is not giving them a more hard push towards money. So that's the reason they could not they could not leave the sense of earning better through finance, because they are continuously earning a better, they have already seen a better income coming from that, and they don't want to lose that income, and that is pushing them to say no to themselves to stop this lending business. So compositely, when I see the left frontal, say I have a C3X, so that X is a challenge actually, because that will push them when inconsistent planning. So for being a very good financial person, the first thing that comes is a proper discipline and a proper plan. This particular person have a challenge in the inconsistency. So then naturally this particular person will definitely have a challenge in terms of handling finance as a business as well. So that when it's seen through their parietal lobe, we could see an alarming factor as well, because in their parietal, we can see a C3X and a C3X, both in right and left parietal. This small x may result causing a mood swing, and their body will not try to cooperate to their mind. So there is always a conflict between their body and mind, and they are not friendly to each other. And sometimes this conflict may result in such a way that their body is not cooperating to the decisions, wherein which this may result in terms of not, for example, to say if I just want them to say you need to do some exercise, they will be interested to start to do an exercise. But certainly that cannot be a continuous activity, and their discipline will not be in such a way that immediately the body and mood swing happens, they will stop doing that exercise. So that means the food habits for them, the nature of lifestyle will definitely over a period in time. Right now, he's just 36 years. Maybe after 40 and 45 years, definitely, if he is not taking care of his body, this small X will definitely push him to find a difficulty in terms of any health problems. So that is one strong alert that we passed on to this particular client. So going forward with this disk nature, absolutely being a strong prefrontal, we can see his dominance and compliance is good. And also this compliance, if you see, that it is accompanied with a C, cognitive nature. So generally, that is why he is having an amplified intelligence in terms of the wordly intelligence. But the weak frontal, that because of the left frontal with the C3X, makes him more to talk with less logics. So that is one problem that we could see it from his disk factor. And definitely the D and C make him too much authoritative. One unique USP for this particular person is whatever difficulty that he is having in terms of learning, he can learn it quickly. He can either take a teaching or coach, and he can learn by himself, or he can also be a self-learner to himself. So that kind of a learning ability and energy in his brain make him that whatever difficult subjects that we wanted to give it to him today, if you want to study astrology, you can study. Tomorrow, if you want to understand how the the stock market is working, he can study and he can invest it. And dynamically, if you change him and say that you want to study how your brain is functioning, he can jump in onto it and study that. So that kind of learning, uh, quick, he will be a very quick learner in terms of any complex topics. So this quick learning, along with a goal-centric approach, dominance, and fast processing in his brain, will wanted to achieve his goal in a quicker way. So that quicker way will drag him too easily for any kind of shortcuts. So, for example, if there is a shortcut in terms of any scams that is happening in finance, he his interest will be in terms of the earnings and profitability. So automatically his interest of ethics, his interest of following the guidelines, his interest of following some kind of the process will be missed, and that will help him, that will not help him in a long run in terms of running a finance business. So mostly his balance, his profile is looking balanced, but he is too much of a workaholic person, which is evidently seen from the disk profile. So interestingly, what is the takeaway from this person being an 100% cognitive? So when we see any person having 100% cognitive, it is better that put do not give them instructions to do. Just say them, this is pros, this is con. You decide what you want to do. So if you give him any kind of a solution or suggestion, then that will become as a contradiction, and that will become as a problem, or that will become as a discussion on an argumental topic also with you. But that is one important strong point as a takeaway from this kind of a 100% cognitive. And you can see that 100% cognitive is almost 53 and 47 emulative and stimulative. That stimulative is coming from the small x in the parietal and also from the frontal. So that will give him so much of resistance in terms of what he wants to do. And as I said, all these results make his mind as a ruler. So everything, whatever he thinks that he feel that it is achievable and he can do it. And he treats his body as a slave. And we already said that will that in long run will result in a cause of a serious damage or sometimes causes serious health problems also. So more diverging in prefrontal does not trust him for a single option. So I already started with that he is not having one business. He sits for astrology, sits for event management, he sits for marriage counseling, he sits for various other businesses in terms of lending. He does a small scale lending, he does a machinery lending. So he cannot, because of so much diverging happening in the prefrontal, one options will not trust him. He wanted to do many things and he will try many things, and being a dominant left brainer, he will be very strong judgmental and makes his own belief system. So that belief system is where he will stick on to his thoughts. So the only simple advice MiDNA has given to them in terms of is reduce or stop, not immediately stop, reduce focusing on money and stop reducing your finance business, because of the left frontal lobe with C3H so difficulties, he will have the problem of sustainability in the finance business, and suggested the client to think closely to large scale is astrological way, because he's having a very good word intelligence. So whatever he talk, it will be very nice, and he can have a better earning money through that field also. So that is the composite side of one person who are 100% cognitive. The next person is Master Kavan Advik, who is 3 years old baby. Actually, this person, the ideology is they wanted to understand. His parents wants to understand that what kind of a schooling system I can put for my child. And interestingly, when I just went through Kavan's report, he is the only person out of the 27 clients that I have handled has more number of Ts. And that D, if you could see, both is prefrontal or with D. So this D, generally my mentor used to say, they are going to be diplomats and they know 360 degree of any information. So that 360 degree will always give them a problem of taking a decision. So one good suggestion that we will always give to such kind of a strong D influence person is go by your first thought. If you allow them to go to take with the second thought, then automatically that will go for an iteration and they will not be convinced with their decisions. So that is the first takeaway on the complete D. Coming back to Kavan's report, the parents wants to understand what kind of a curriculum they want to put, and the boy is so hyperactive, where in which they could not able to control. So first we wanted to understand the hyperactiveness. So we picked the GBP indicators. This particular boy is having a very strong C in the left temporal, and that is the most dominant lobe. You can see that is having 84 as it, and that 84 is coming with C3. So this strong C with strong left temporal makes his logic and word intelligence both are very nice. So this particular person, you can see his logic and word intelligence that is contributed from the left prefrontal, and it is combination of the prefrontal and the temporal was significantly good. So he could able to be a very strong communicator, and he will be having a very good understanding of cause and effect. So this person can be a very good data scientist, where in which he can able to understand what is the cause and what is the effect in terms of the statistical languages. Apart from that, this person is having one small weakness. We cannot call it as actually weakness. This person has the design with A in the occipital. So this is always remembers me one particular song of MGR period, MSV song. So there is one song which mostly I can say that Kannai Nambade, Unnai Ematrum, Arive Nee Nambu, Ullam Telivagum, Adayalam Katum. So that verse, when I just typed this particular line, that song came to my mind because that is one of my favorite song. That is one of my mother's favorite song. So in English, it is nothing but don't trust your eyes; they will deceive you. The appearance you see is not actually true. Trust your knowledge. Your art will be clear. That which shows the signs, and it never lies. So very nicely, the message what we want to convey was said in a very long time before in a beautiful song, that the whatever the sensory lobes that are participating in terms of your auditory or in your kinesthetics or in terms of your visual, this particular persons have a visual weakness. So that visual weakness has to be compensated, and that because of this visual weakness, where we will be having a problem is whatever that is trying to see through the visuals will have a very rarest combination, very less in likelihood to convert into long-term memory. So that is one thing that we could see from this particular report. And this person is hyperactive, too hyperactive, because C is parietal with C3, C2, and with energy of 80 to 79. So much of body energy is having, and he wants to spend that body energy completely. If the body energy is not wiped out, that will be converted as an hyperactiveness. And today's in the closed environment, the parents could not able to send them out for a ground to play or outside the apartment to play. They are closely keeping them in a small room for a longer period. So these child with the strong parietal energy, with strong body energy, needs energy to spend out. If that is not there, then the resultant energy that is not spent will be converted in the form of an hyperactiveness. So that is the result of this boy being so hyperactive. So then coming back to this particular boy's disc profile, we could see a beautiful combination. Again, I need to bless the God, because this particular boy have S and C as the IS. The steadiness coming from the right frontal and right temporal, and compliance coming from the left frontal and left temporal. The energy is so high, and a very process-centric person. Even I could observe him when his mother is asking him, when he is wanting to drink, when he wants to drink water, he goes into the kitchen, pulls the drawer, take the cup which he regularly drinks it, close the drawer, come out with the cup, show to her mother, and he will fill that with water. He will drink and get back the cup and keep it in the same place where he picked it up. So such a neat process, without any teaching, he understood what is this process that should be done for drinking properly at the age of 3. So this kind of a perfectionism that is delivered, even though if his prefrontal is not matured and still in a childhood lay and he needs a primary thing, and I can understand what will be the level of intensity of this perfectionism will come over the period of time if it is properly given trained. But still, there is a chance that this person's parents, when I just went through their reports, they are not process centric persons. So definitely, this person is God's gift for them, where he will teach his parents how they should be very perfect. They should keep their things in order. So that was one thing that was a fun factor that came to my mind when I went through their family report. So more process-centric person gives preference to quality output. Generally, we could not see or observe anything right now. So slowly it will come. And if this person is given a proper guidance with the proper standard operating protocols and this, he can lead a proper, comfortable life. Otherwise, there is always a chance that this person may have a skewness and get into an OCD problem. Because see the skewness that is happening on the right side between his efficiency and accuracy. So there is a strong accuracy that is pushing him where this person being a D in both prefrontal and also having the accuracy with DNC, with SNC, the nature of this person will be that they will be trying to attain perfectionism. And if that perfectionism is not attained, they will always have the sense of incompleteness in their mind. That sense of incompleteness will always create a fear of failure in their mind. So they will be very anxious. They will keep themselves in the form of a ICU mode every time we used to call in during the training session. So they always keep their thought process to be in ICU mode. So that gives them a very anxious in several situations. So this is one critical thing that their parents should understand in terms of their report. Lastly, because of DNC, 80% cognitive. In that cognitive, 70, 80 of 70% goes to emulative and 30% simulative. And so we being emulative, we will be having the emotional glitches. And this emulation will also require him a proper guidance and teacher. A proper teacher and a guidance is always required. Kind of a pedagogical learning is what he prefers to it. More Ds make him diplomatic, very tough to make decisions, and there will be a conflict between, on the MGI, you can see, he is a feeler and a person with a judgment. So just think of a feeler with a person with judgment. So what is that we are trying to say is, in the MGI, when he tried to make a decisions, the decisions are coming from feelings. At the same time, when he tried to act on the decisions between the outside world, that will be tending him to travel towards judgment. So judgment requires evidence. Think feelings does requires emotion. So there is a conflict between the left and right, and this crossover conflict will definitely be problems for all the D3s. That's the reason they always find it difficult to make their decisions. And again, one mantra for them is go with the first option that is coming to their mind. So this particular boy have a very good sensory energy. So his auditory and kinesthetics are very good, with C contributing a best learning methods. Visuals are not good, as I said, but he will be a very good listener. Even just now, before I starting this meeting, I saw him that he was just listening to one of the oldest song, even NSK song that he was sitting and listening at the age of 3, along with his grandfather. So that kind of the person is. So I do not know how this temporal is creating that curiosity of liking into this music of any kind. So his whole body is into learning process right now. So MiDNA has identified his strength, and his visual iconic diverging will be weak. But however, his recall using episodic and semantic memory is always stronger, with a good rehearsal ability. And showing is a challenging learner, we proposed him to go for a Montessori kind of an education, where currently the parents have onboarded him to EGRU. EGRU is a kind of, not Montessori, it's a kind of more towards body energy utilization, learning through bodies, learning through the episodic and the semantic sides of it. And slowly they are also giving them the trainings in the terms of iconic levels also. So we can see how better that he is going to get that, because A1, A1 will have that nature of forcing themselves to adapt things. So that is controlled. Most of the times it is controlled by the C's. So C will be driving the A1. So let's see how is progress is happening between this Montessori education. This is with Mr. Master Kavanathi. So next we are going to see a very interesting case. This client is Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar C is actually a 50-year-old person, professional driver. He is into this logistic company for almost 25 years. He was a very chronic alcoholic person, and there was a very heavy loss in his life during in the past, in the 10 years before, where he lost his 8 years old daughter due to brain fever. Because of it, it's completely changed. Whatever he was before that and whatever he is now is a total different person that we are seeing it with, for so much of family affinity now. But still, what was the complaint that we could see is he is having that emotional dysregulation. So shifting between the personalities are seen, and sometimes became very adamant in his decisions, and it's very hard for the family members to reach him or convince him. So it was a very interesting case when I just go through his reports, and when I took Mr. When he took the audio bites from Dr. Ratnaswamy sir also, it was very interesting to see why he is behaving like that. The first case for me to see an onion and Ambi, a multi-personality person in one profile. So ideally, in the initial left prefrontal is dominant for this person with 84. You can see the difference is 84 in left prefrontal, and suddenly the right prefrontal is coming with 66. His left prefrontal is C and right prefrontal with D. Left frontal is X and right frontal is R2. So that means four people are conflicting in one particular prefrontal to frontal lobe. One lobe of his brain, which is not having a physical boundaries, having a conflict of four personalities. So that is why we can see that R is bringing him innocence at one end, but the C and D is bringing him an egocentric on the other end. And there is not a comfortable X is happening on the left frontal, where a storeroom is totally unpredictable. So that is not also being helped by the right brain, because R is a kind of a slavery there. It obeys the orders from C and D. So that is why we can see innocence and an egocentric persons are sitting in his frontal and prefrontal. And he is having a sensory lobes with A's with a very good energy. You can see his temporal is 68, 58 with A. All the others are A, and his visual is 63, 55, and his parietal is 53, 55. So whenever the sensory lobes are dominantly having this A, we could see one observation that is coming very clearly, that these people can become addicted to something easily, and they can also come out of the addiction very easily because of the forcing nature of the sensory lobes controlling the adaptability. They have an intense adaptability to either accept it or leave without it. So that is one important unique takeaway from this particular profile. And see, you can see there's a strong prefrontal is there. Because of the strong prefrontal, he is having a very good cosmic intelligence. And this makes him to rebound from his tragic incident. So we can see evidently that after being a big loss, he's shifting completely, he shifted himself completely, and he could able to rebound from whatever happened to. So it is also a typical A's nature, where we saw one more A at the first time with Lakshmi, where 9 or A's rebounds and coming back from whatever she has lost is immense when compared to Mr. Kumar. D. When we go through the DIIC profile, this profile, he is a T and I person, and with C, in left prefrontal and also D in the right prefrontal, it amplifies their nature and picture intelligence. So the nature and picture intelligence, yes, he can be a very good person in terms of taking an alternative explanations. And in terms of picture intelligence, yes, his creation of visual images and interpretation of images will be very nice. And see this 62.15 in terms of the goal centric and not at all a process oriented person. So this goal centric makes him to grow fast, achieve something faster, and push him to reach to a faster heights. So this kind of a people generally loves to go for a prize and become so authoritative when we are giving any work. So that authoritative moods are making them so much demanding in nature. So their expectations, their lifestyle, and their will be so much inclined towards achieving a task and earning more because of the D and I contributing to more goal centric and performance oriented person. And when we go to the behavioral traits, if I draw a line between point 9 to 1.1, none of slopes are having a balance. It's a complete imbalance scene. That's why we call this as a umbi and onion in the first digital. So you can see there is four-person fighting in his frontal and prefrontal. When the four persons are fighting, none of his lobes can also be resting himself. He becomes neither so persistent, he will become so self-confident and self-motivated that will drive him for boasting himself. Sometimes you see the patience and cooperative level is too much skewed downwards. So that is primarily happening because of this X3 sitting in the in the left frontal. And this X3 and C1 in the left prefrontal and left frontal makes them impulsiveness. So this is where the inconsistency in his behavior is observed. That inconsistency is what is reported from his family members, that he is so adamant and sometimes changing between the goalposts from what he wants to be. So his preference is mostly Liv wants to go for an independence and he will sit alone. These kind of a personalities, I could see that they get frustrated easily when someone is trying to regulate them. So when you go and say them, you do this, you want to do this alone, then they will not do this. They will always get frustrated and they will move away. They will try to show the rebellious action from there. So that could be one reason where the family members again find a difficulty, where some kind of the conversations are not comfortable for him. So that becomes a kind of a regulatory thing that pushing him to do something without his interest. So naturally, a bust out is coming out from there. Coming back to the final inference, 10% reflective with R on the right frontal, not much useful when it sits on the right frontal, and 60% effective, 30% cognitive. So this 30% cognitive goes to 81% to emulative and 19% stimulative, because 19% stimulative is not creating much problem. This 81% of stimulative with so much of emotional imbalance creates a problem where that is the core reason for his emotional dysregulation, which we discussed. The R with 10% makes his sensory to guide matter. So that could be the reason that he is having a very good resistant to go for a long drive, sitting himself and taking a complete motor skills. But unfortunately, this X3 and R2 has not given that good for his academics, and he could have not done good. He has not done better also in the academic side. So his decision thinking is driven out from the action outside world. So you can see here it is thinking and perceptive. In the previous case, we have feeling and judgment that were conflicting each other. For this person, it becomes thinking and perceptive. So when a person naturally goes for a thinking act, so for example, if I say he will logically start thinking, give some importance to certain truth, and he will start giving values to his thought, and he will come up with some emotions. But when it comes to taking the judgment to the outside world, the taking is act to the outside world, it becomes so perceptive where the decisions will come or the action will come without any plans. So that kind of a person will try to procrastinate things in terms of taking any decision. So that conflict again is troubling him in taking a decision. So I got one inspiration from the audio bites from my mentor for this particular case, which I would like to share. A common thought is there where the left prefrontal, we call it as a boardroom, and the left frontal, we call it as a storeroom. The right prefrontal is the dream room, and the right frontal is a bedroom. So the harmony is coming from these four rooms that we share. So in his case, if you see his frontal is non-cooperating with X3 and is left brain and in left brain, and it is too submissive in the right R2 because of right brain. And these kind of person, when there is lot of converging is happening in the right frontal, there is a tendency for these persons to become a maniac or addiction. So that is very clearly seen from his case in terms of uh, Mr. Kumar. So the same thing, the converging right frontal with X will create an addiction. The diverging factor with X may cause in terms of phobias. So addictions at one side, if you think that it will be majorly from the converging part of X, diverging part, if we have an X, then there is a lot of chances of having a phobia. So this is one key takeaway from such kind of a multiple personalities that we see here. So the ideal recommendation is we strong X3 in left prefrontal. At the same time, he has innocence that we discussed. Because of this huge quantity, indicatively showing multiple personality disorder. So the problem here is the harmony index, which we shared already. The sensory lobes are very good. So he can try using the sensory lobes and can do a better compatibility. So a visual guided meditations on a kind of making himself into work. Work is also a kind of a driving itself. It's a meditation for him to be, because recent times he's not going for his driving because of an accident. That could also be a reason where there is sudden burst outs are happening because he's not um, a kind of energy is not being continuously used. So these kind of an inner peace should be attained for such kind of a personalities, so that they can live calm and the others associated with this family can also be having the harmony to live and live in calmness. That is the takeaway from client number 4. The last client for the day is Miss Purnavalli, a very interesting character that I have met. This particular person, I picked it for the stipulative behavior. So this is the person who have 2x, 1x, 1 in left frontal and x3 in the right frontal. So Purnavalli is studying his 11th standard from IB curriculum. So when I just submitted this problem statement, I observed that she does very good in her academics, and I felt that she is diligently doing all her things and exhibit a strong leadership skills. And she, the problem that she conveyed to me is she always tends to lose interest very quickly, and she lacks excitement, and she always want to work alone. She does not want to work along with the team members. So that is the actual problem statement. So that is why being X1 and X3 in the frontal does not have diligent work can be possibility. That is the takeaway. There can be intelligence that is happening over there because she is having a very good prefrontal. So that logical intelligence is good, and that logical intelligence makes things good in terms of her academics in showing the intelligence part of it. And being in IB curriculum and being a strong, dominant left brainer and a focused learner, she is not right now exposed to her problems. And because these kind of an IB curriculum is not having a long paragraph answers and memorizing a long paragraph to write up on other things. It's more towards case studies accomplishing the practical classes. So such kind of an activity-based learning is happening inside our curriculum, which is helping her to not expose her weakness. And because of this dominant left brain with good analytical thinking and logical thinking, she is able to show her intelligence in the particular field. So what's the challenge? The challenge is X3 in the right frontal and R in the right parietal. This too will have a problem in terms of the creativity part. So aggressions, prefrontal makes her dynamics to makes her see this kind of a person will see lot of ups and downs. Ups and downs is because of their unpredictable nature happening in their storeroom and also happening in their bedroom. That is in their right frontal and left frontal. And you can see this particular person's neocortex and limbic speed is also fast. So these fast processing person with an aggressive mindset feels saturated, and they also learn very quick, and they it's a kind of one saying that if you are giving them a task for 1 hour and if they finish it in 20 minutes and they do not know what to do in 40 minutes in the remaining portion. So that is the core problem that these people are facing right now. So typically going in depth in detail of the disk profile, we can see she is again a DNI person, and you can see once again strong goal oriented person and very task driven person. So such kind of goal oriented person will have a tendency to be more workaholic, and a left brain, being a girl child with a left brain dominant and having a strong workaholic nature, certain times have tendency to be creating a difficulties for their parents in terms of their sensitive behaviors. So that is really happening in their family. The imbalance is also clearly evident from their behavior profiles. So you can see that imbalance is critically happening towards sensitivity and overconfidence, self-confidence and self-motivation too much skewed, where this too much self-confidence can make it overconfidence by nature as well. So that should be avoided. And this lack of interest or quick frustration burst out when happens to her because of their independence nature. The independence nature of her is again skewed eye. So that is very clearly evident that she don't want to work with a team and she wanted to do everything alone. So this is these kind of persons. So whenever we can find an X or X3 person, there will be continuous momentum shift happening in their thought processes, and that momentum shift shows an inconsistency. That's why they do not able to stick to one option, and they fast processor happening to Purnavalli makes her also to understand things quicker with her good logical intelligence, learn everything faster, and doesn't know what to do next. And she gets boredom, and her boredom is feeling, and she went into a room that is creating a boredom for her. Again, she wanted to go and try something new. Again, she wanted to go and try something new. Where the search is happening in an iterative process that always fueling her brain in terms of giving something or other. So this kind of person have a tendency of being addiction also because of strong A's in the other lobes, and strong A's are happening in their sensory lobes as well with X. Being a workaholic lady, there is a chance that her personal life in the growing phase should be constantly monitored by their parents in a proper guidance. So she should be encouraged in doing some group activities and other things. So coming to the approach, what we have discussed with their family is being 10% reflective and 30% cognitive. We can see that the emulative thought process is more, and that is coming from the emotional imbalance. And you can see here neuroplasticity index. So that is too low. You can see a neuroplasticity index that is indicating a passivity sense And the decision thinking is driven outside the thoughts of actions, and their converging action in X and right prefrontal will have the maniac activity like we discussed before, and our right parietal not supporting and makes her workaholic. So that was the example that I given. So we suggested our parents to encourage her to slow down and find a balance. So we say one important phrase to her that life isn't a race. With her analytical left brain strength, she can be a very good researcher, scientist, or she can also go for a data science kind of a jobs, and she can do a lot of good researches. Parents should guide her in terms of planning and decision making gently and closely reduce overwork tendency for her. So naturally, right now only she is trying to do overwork whenever there is an exams are coming. She isolate herself, go inside the room without even food and other thing, without even bothering of what is happening to her else. She constantly make herself tiresome for preparing for her exams as well. So that kind of an overwork tendency should be nurtured with patience by their parents and give her a proper curiosity builders that will structure her learning. So these kind of people have an urge to do something and their energies are finding to learn something and they wanted to achieve something. So over a period of time, if there is a proper guidance given to them, these kind of next people can go and find out something phenomenally great where no one could achieve that heights. So we wish her that she could reach to that heights and her personal life is also being well balanced by giving the proper advice to the parents. So this is overall about my different kind of understanding of all the 5 different profiles from my data set. Then, as a closing context, the last 10 minutes, I would like to take up from the 270 fingers which I have. So between the 270 fingers which I said before, I can say that I wanted to find out the correlation and causation. To understand correlation and causation, because it is a statistical word, I will just give you one example. Uh, there is a very popular example saying that whenever there are no more number of bicyclists riding the cycles in a daytime, the ice cream sales are surging up. So this was an identification because if the count of the bicycle people are driving the bicycles in the early mornings are going up, the ice cream sales are also going up. But that is not having any relationship. It is just a number correlation. When one increases, the other also having the tendency to increase. But really, the causation is the weather. If there is a pleasant weather in the morning with hot weather, definitely the more number of people will go for cycling outside the environment. That hot weather with the pleasant conditions will also bring more number of people to buy ice cream. So the real causation is the hot weather. So with that 270 fingers, I got 2 components. One is energies in all the lobes, and another one is fingerprint types in all the lobes. So to just understand the correlation that I said between numbers, I want to understand what is happening. I created a correlation map, and that correlation map has given me one interesting finding. But again, it is an hypothesis. The finding says the right frontal, when increases with energy, it has a good tendency that the right temporal and left temporal is also giving that is also increasing. See, definitely I can understand when the parietal energy is increasing, the temporal or the occipital energy has good tendency of increasing because parietal being a body energy and all the other temporal, visual, temporal and the occipital or the sensory conditions. So there is a relationship that we could understand. But how this frontal with the temporal is related is something that when I wanted to understand, I just went through one small study that whenever we see things, the seeing will resist with a 0.6 seconds in the frontal brain, and the frontal decides to keep it to store it in a short-term memory or long-term memory. The people who are having a strong visual occipital, the retention level will be more, and they can able to distinguish things better. That will be stored more in the frontal portion, the storage in the app storage happening in the left frontal will be very good. And similarly, the hearing component in the minuscule ear that is happening there make the traveling of the data to reach to the frontal data pipeline for 4 seconds. The longest period of that makes the temporal very strong in terms of the storage. So all this semantic relationship, which is intuitive, the episodic connections and semantic connections happen because of the hearing sense, which is having the ability to convert more number of long-term memories. So that could be one finding. I thought whenever there is a good right frontal, there is a tendency of right temporal or left temporal. But again, the left parietal is growing, the right parietal is also showing a very strong strength. So the balance kinesthetics, I do not know why the exact reason is about. I just throwing you the number that is happening. So then I wanted to twist my study in such a way. Let me put energy in one side, take all the fingerprints in the other side, find the association whether it is creating some kind of a relationship. So when I just went through that, I could find one more interesting phenomena that between 270, I said, right, I got almost 16, a maximum of 16 A's in the left prefrontal. And also, if I say C is coming almost 14 cognitive C's are coming in the left frontal, and 19 A's are coming in the left parietal. And the highest is 21 C's are coming in the left temporal. So whenever the C's are coming in the left temporal, it is giving more energy scores also, more brain scores also. So overall, when I just converted this into a composite number and took an average of all, cognitive patterns show an highest mean energy across all the lobes. So that is clearly a proper causation that is what we used to get from the input from MiDNA also, that people with cognitive have so much of energy and they do not know what to do with it. It can be a boon or bane. That is very well studied from the 270 fingers that I scanned. Cognitive patterns are the highest mean energy, and you can see the cognitive pattern are almost having 70 to 80. So it is ranging in the light green color. It is all in 80. Next is the D. The integrative patterns are the people who are having the next highest level, and they, when they sits in the left prefrontal and right temporal, is the highest. So D, most of the times I could see coming in the left prefrontal and right temporal, and these are the areas are tied up for decision making and emotional control. So that is why D is giving that high energy. So A, the water personality maintains a balance and moderate energy across all the lobes. So if you see A, between all the lobes, if you see, there is a consistent energy that is happening between 50 to 60. So that is the lowest and maximum that could go between an A, between left to all the lobes. And the last is reflective and stimulative. It is a activation function where I can say that typically right brain driven people are having this reflective and stimulative, and this is linked to creativity, and this kind of people have the least in terms of the energy, mean energy that could be followed towards. So this is just an hypothesis that has come with all the 270 fingers that I've scanned. And maybe this is right or wrong. I just wanted to share my findings with you all. And with that, I just close this presentation. It was a great opportunity for me, and a special mention to Ratnasamy sir, Suresh, and Vijayalakshmi ma'am for conducting and organizing and helping me to drive through this presentation. Thank you, sir. That's it from my end.
Yeah, thank you, Lokendran. And yeah, I would like to, yeah, Sayan, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. So, Lokendran, sir, thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. So, I really admired how you began the session with Tirukural. It was a grateful start, sir. And in morning 5:45 a.m. sessions, Ratnasamy, sir, used to appreciate you for the way you articulate clients' details and your 100% effective learning and all. And today, your presentation it truly reflects this, and your final hypothesis is really thought provoking, sir. And you explained each point so clearly, sir. And as sir mentioned, I will be happy to help you with any scans at Trichy, sir. And wishing you and our MiDNA family members happy Diwali, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you,
Always help.
Sayan. Yeah. Yes, Visul, please.
Good evening, all. Lokendran, we couldn't able to meet in Hyderabad, but at least today I'm able to see you visually. And after a long time, like I'm attending the session, like I'm not sure. Very few sessions only, like I'm pulled into. So knowingly, unknowingly, like those sessions are like um, very different from the normal one. So your approach, the way you detailed, the way you explained, and your data analysis, even though like only 25 people you have scanned, and the 250 fingers, like that data which you are comparing, maybe when you are having more and more data, you can able to derive some different analysis that will give more insight to us, also looking in a different perspective. Okay, this data analysis, not only going to help you, it is going to help the people, in a way. We can try to build a model also. So I'm really, when I saw that hypothesis slide, what kind of model we can build, and when we give this kind of training to that model, so maybe we can at least some of the like remaining that sensory lobes are, we don't need to go deep, but at least the frontal and prefrontal, what is that more predominantly coming again and again. So what kind of the pattern? So still we can, even the basic manual what we have as part of our training, we can add some of the inputs there also. So I think this make you unique and different from others. So keep analyzing and keep exciting us continuously. Best wishes.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm honored with your comments. Definitely, I will try to meet you next time. It was a great privilege to hear a good words from you always, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Visul. Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir Vinodni.
Yeah.
Sir Lokendran, sir, very nice, sir. Very beautifully you correlated, and your hypothesis was very good, sir. And the inputs what you give about clients, that's your understanding. The way you give your inputs about the clients to get details from sir is very impressive, sir. Thank you so much, and it was a beautiful presentation, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I should really thank. I already conveyed this to Ratnasamy sir also. Every time he shares me audio bite for the client, I every video I can say at least say a minimum 2 or 3 new points are coming and new learnings are coming. It is not the same audio bite I'm getting from sir. So definitely I'm blessed to get your all support and also your thought process and learning. Man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Vinodini. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. So we come to the end of this presentation. As everybody said, structured presentation with a lot of details, and I think you are definitely doing a lot of homework besides your busy schedule of doing your professional commitments, and somehow you are very committed to learning, and that's very interesting and motivating for everyone. So that's good about your learning and your feedback. I think you very meticulously do, neither too fast nor too slow, and you keep importance to everything that you are wanting to improvise on. That's a greatness about effective, 100% effective. I think if you are molded, motivated, you are in the right environment, I think learning becomes much easier for for the 100% effective, UIDs and all. And just 2 points I just want to add on for more for besides this today's session. One is about left temporal. See, the left temporal, when it comes to the left side of the brain, is non-living, and that is currency. Okay, so in one of your cases, the number one lobe, the highest energy lobe was in the temporal, left temporal lobe. That means definitely there is a lust and greed for wealth accumulation is definitely there. You tell anything, they'll say, what is the benefit for me? How much I can make money? What is the margin? What is the commission? What is that I'll get? So the materialistic goals are seen more with the left temporal. And the same thing, if the prefrontal is stronger than the left frontal, I mean, if the left prefrontal is stronger than the left temporal, then it will be a slightly different one. They know what to ask, when to ask, how much to ask. So the tactics of asking are looking forward. Like they would know this cannot give me more commission. This is not a very logically working model. So if you go there, it may not work well. But if your left temporal is stronger than the left prefrontal, then you are, any case you want it, even if it is unethical, even if it is coming from some unappreciated domain, you still say money is money. Okay, it is like you take the money, if it has fallen on the ground, you wash it and clean it and say still you see the value did not go down. So that is the kind of approach you will have if the left temporal is very strong, and that is on the left side of the brain. So I want all of you to interpret self-smart plus left temporal is about money and managing the money, making the money and managing the money. Because when the left temporal is very strong, only when the people smart is very high, only they will be a good communicator. Okay, because the same temporal lobe, when you are connecting with the right side of the brain, is about connecting with people and interacting with them. If it is on the self-smart plus left temporal, it is about collecting the money and holding on with you. Okay, so this is something when you make statements, yes, word smart is communication, but remember, it is non-living communication. So when you say word smart is good, doesn't naturally mean they will communicate with people very well. Okay, only when the people smart is good, they will be an extrovert. If their self smart is good, they are talking to themselves, they are not talking to others. That is why their paper communication, email communication, document making will be good, but they may not enjoy, talking to people unless otherwise it is a professional communication. So when we say communication, it is generally we say good communicator, but that is applicable only when you are balanced, the brain is there. Otherwise, you talk to yourself more and not to people. But you can say the non-living communication or non-verbal communications, they are doing well because of parietal lobe coming in and writing. Suppose if the parietal lobe is left parietal is not very strong, they may not even write it because they know the content, but they have not practiced writing it. Okay, so it is very important to see how the sensory lobes are contributing towards the communication. Like reading means it has to come from the occipital. Writing means it has to come from the parietal lobe. Talking has to come from the temporal lobe. And that also, if it is a self-smart, that means internalizing, and it's people smart, then you are externalizing the communication. So this is something I want it to be very clearly understood when we talk about it, because whenever you see the left temporal very strong, they will not talk to people when they are children, because left temporal is about, talking to myself rather than talking to people. And it is very important to know when somebody is a self-smart, they may take longer time to come and make it their talking may take longer time. because they don't enjoy going to public or outside people. They talk less and less, so they are not their communication skills don't grow faster, well, as far at least on the verbal ones. So please keep in mind whether somebody is a self smart or a people smart also is very important when you talk about communication, and that is something I wanted to remind you here. The second point is when a child goes to school, like pedagogical learning, there are various options available for you to choose a very easier option. Like you say, okay, IB curriculum, no need to rote learning, and okay, the child is comfortable, done. Then if somebody is process centric, you put them into government education system and they are comfortable. That is all right. But when you become an adult and deal the world will not give you choices like that. Nobody will tell you, oh, you are not good at it. Okay, you go and be that. That is not available. So as a child, more options are available, but that should not make the child skewed to choose only a particular type of learning process. Then when you go into adult, you will be struggling. For example, if somebody is goal-centric child, the long-term memory is not good. You can always tell them, okay, don't study the long questions and all, and just answer the one-word questions and you'll still get some 60, 70 marks. But if you go to a company and start working, nobody will give you, you do only that job, this job is not yours. In the entry-level job, everybody wants a process-centric job to be assigned, and that is where the fundamentals are not becoming good for the children. Currently, they are engineers and then maybe IITs and IIMs, but the fundamental knowledge is not much there, and that is something they did not face when they are studying in the school. But when you come to the working environment, then you quit the job and start doing something on your own. Even if you start something on your own, still the process is somebody has to do the process, because life is always not coming in bits and pieces. It's a whole meal that is given, and if you prefer only one part of the meal, then the rest goes waste, or you don't get benefit of that. So the message I am telling to do is, don't choose too much of, don't run away from the challenging areas, because later on, when you become an adult, it is very difficult to work on the so-called blind spots and the weak spots. But as a child, it is much easier to develop. And the only way to develop, and I think Visu also said that, is use your sensory lobes and see how you can balance your frontal lobes and prefrontal lobes. That 4 compartments are the most common rooms in our house, kind of a thing. So the kitchen is important, the drawing room is important, the bedroom is important, restroom is important. So all the rooms are important. So you can't keep one room well and the rest of the rooms are not, comfortable for using, is not a great idea. And again, I say the goal of our life is to balance the 4 compartments, namely the frontal and prefrontal. The only way to do that is engage your sensory lobes, or cut off your sensory lobes and get into meditation. And that's an altogether a different, ball game, which is not easy. And the another thing I'll also tell you, like if your processing speed is faster, you tend to get into Instagrams and watching the reels. You are actually self-destruction, actually. You are digging your own graveyard. Being a fast learner, you go there, the reel will be 25 seconds, you will scroll in 2 seconds. If you do that for a long time, your brain will get adapted to the 2 seconds. Then that means you will just surf everything in life. And as you said, people will die out of boredom. So if exam is given for 2 hours, you write it in 1 hour. Next 1 hour in the exam, you can walk out of the classroom, but in life, you cannot walk out of this body when you want it. So it is very important for those fast process to slow down consciously. Engage your sensory lobes, it will slow down. But if you use your intuitive lobes alone, they will be self-destructive, because it cannot slow down. Mind cannot be slowed down without the help of the sensory lobe. So if you are having a moderate processor, you have set some goals and push through. If you are a fast processor, drag on something, take up something that will take more time, and develop a kind of patience towards it. For example, I continue to say, if somebody is a fast processor, they will not prefer to take up grooming children and all because it needs a lot of patience. But if you are really interested in slowing down the brain, you should take a 6-month-old baby and 1-year-old baby and just engage yourself totally with them. Then you will slow down because children cannot do things as much as you want it. And that means they will slow you down because you have no choice. So choose something like take the beads and count. Okay, by just counting faster, you are not going anywhere because time is something you have set for next half an hour. I'll do that. So do something in which it is, it is slowing down your thinking process, and that is very, very important. And nurturing can happen only with the help of the sensory lobes. If the prefrontals and frontals are already cognitive and have an addiction, then it is very important to not getting into the addiction compulsive mode, because I continue to tell, if you have a cognitive lobe, be very mindful about how you are using it. You will have two choices: use it for distraction and use it for pleasant opportunities. Choose wisely, otherwise, you will definitely be another Abhimanyu of our life, which is not a very pleasant, experience to have this planet. So keep in mind, when you are a child, people are giving you so many easier options and cozier options that will not help you in the long run. That is why I say poverty is a boon, suffering is a boon, because they will teach you lessons, and lot of lessons that are learned in a very, very challenging situation can also, in a long run, can make you feel a holistic experience of life, because life doesn't come as piecemeal and you have to enjoy the whole meal. Something you may like, something you may not like, but learn to handle both of them, because everything has come to you for a reason, and just understand and go through it. But if you go with the default setting, most of the time it will be a fault. That's the context, right? So take care, all the best. See you in your 3.0. And you being a very busy professional, I will suggest that you go through the process and take it as something that you use it for, improving your understanding about your people, workplace, corporate, how people behave, what their choices are happening. I think you will be a great learner, and you will make use of it. And I wish you all the very best for the CMM. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.